Hey y'all, and welcome to PolitiBrawl. My name is Brian, and RFK Jr. just cleans Kaitlan Collins' clock and reminding the rest of the world that not only is CNN not a real source of news, but Kaitlan Collins is no journalist. Let's dive in.
You were born into a privileged background, obviously not something you can control, but I wonder what you would say to maybe a single mom of two kids who's reading this report about how harmful these cheap but very accessible foods are for her family and saying, well, you know, sometimes that's the best we can do, and that's why that's what's on the food or at the table at the end of the day, or that's what's in their lunchbox.
It's an illusion to think that processed food is cheap, because you end up paying for it with diabetes. You end up paying for it with autoimmune dysregulation, with mitochondrial dysfunction, with inflammation, and you end up paying much higher costs in the long run.
But they're not paying.
Now, there are food deserts in this country where people at this point have a hard time getting access. I met with the health technology companies this week, and it was an extraordinary meeting, and one of the statements they made is that there's no place in this country, in the lower 48, where you can't get access to good foods. It's not easy access, as it had been in the past, and that's been part of the economic drivers, and also the fact that people don't understand that these processed foods are poison.
But
they're more and more, and you're watching companies now that are changing their ingredients because of this movement, that are making good food more available to Americans because they're demanding it. There was no demand for it before. This report is about getting every American to demand the accessibility to good whole food in their neighborhoods. And that, it's going to be a process, but it's already happening. You see these big fast food conglomerates that are switching from seed oils to beef tallow fat. You see them reducing the ingredients. You see Chobani yogurt changing its ingredients because of the demand that has happened because of the MAHA movement. We are going to make sure they have apps that mothers who go into the grocery store have an app that they can flash on the barcode of every product and get a green light, red light, or yellow light. That will allow them.
HHS is creating that?
We're working with industry to do it, and they're already doing it. Mark Hyman's company has done it. Patrick Sonsing's company has done it. There are many, many apps out there that I use one called Yucca. That is my wife and I consider it invaluable. You can go into any grocery store, flash it at any product, and you can get a go or a no on it. And as that happens, the market, we're not trying to create an anti-state here. We're trying to drive market forces that will drive change in the kind of food Americans get through good information and good science.
In anticipation of this report, there was a lot of pushback from farmers, agricultural groups. I know you heard from some Republican senators up on Capitol Hill who were worried about what it would mean for pesticides, ones that have been approved already by the EPA. I want to get your response to what one Illinois farmer, who is also the National Corn Growers Association president, Kenneth Hartman Jr., he told the Wall Street Journal, if the administration's goal is to bring more efficiency to government, then why is the MAHA Commission duplicating efforts by raising questions about pesticides that have been answered repeatedly through research and reviews by the EPA?
There's nothing in this report that will worry the American farmer. The person who made that statement had never seen the report. So
you won't reverse anything the EPA has approved?
Listen, we consider, and I said this during the 2.5 years that I was running for president, farmers in this country are in trouble. And I met with farmers in Texas and the Midwest this week, and they consistently told me 7 out of every 10 years we are losing money. If we lose the farmers, the MAHA agenda is bankrupt. We need the farmers as partners. We need to keep them in business. We don't want to put a single farmer out of business. What we want to do is create incentives to produce the best food that we can possibly, and continue to do that.
You mentioned your presidential run, and some farmers may look at that and be skeptical of what you're saying, because you made comments like saying that you could weaponize the other agencies against chemical agriculture by doing good science on the chemicals that you say are poisoning us, high fructose corn syrup, and it's linked to the obesity epidemic. So if they're worried you're going to weaponize other agencies against them.
And that's, processed food. And I think we've all agreed that processed food is not a good thing for human health. And that we're driving a diabetes epidemic. Kaitlan, when I was a kid, My uncle was president. The average pediatrician at that time saw one case of juvenile diabetes in his lifetime over a 40 or 50-year career. Today, 38% of teens are diabetic or pre-diabetic. And 1 out of every 3 kids who walks through his office door has that, and it's costing us $1 trillion a year just for that kind of mitochondrial dysfunction. It's bankrupting our country. It's making it 75% of American kids can't qualify for military service.
These numbers are wild. Just for lack of a better phrase, they are absolutely wild. What is happening to the American people has been nothing short of a travesty. The number of $1 trillion in health costs, yeah, that's kind of a real stat, and it's getting worse. It's getting worse. We don't fully understand what happened after World War II. And the reason I bring that up is after World War II, we were in a hyper-production mode. We were producing so many tanks, airplanes. We were making use of petroleum products. We were making use of plastics. And that's what just revolutionized the world economy. Well, the science is coming back, and it turns out that those plastics, they come with an extra cost. It's currently estimated that a credit card level of microplastics pass through the human body every year, and I think it's higher than that now. We don't fully understand and have a grasp of the consequences of the post-World War II production era. And we're starting to see it. Because before World War II, even during the Great Depression, we didn't have this huge suburban life. We didn't have this huge urban life. Everyone had their own little gardens in their backyards, and they could farm. And they had food available for them. Now people think food comes from the grocery store. That's not a good thing. That's not a good thing. And then, from a political perspective, the reason that I constantly talk about just how crazy the Democrat Party has gotten, the reason I keep on coming back to this time and time and time again, is because, well, 20 years ago, the hippies of the Democrat Party, they were onto something. All right, the Ron Paul conservatives, the Ron Paul libertarians, they were right about foreign policy. The critics that constantly were screaming that whatever we're doing in the Middle East, we're just making things worse, they turned out to be correct. Then the people that said that there aren't enough regulations on these corporations that are making our food, turns out those hippie liberals were onto something. And the reason that this gets brought up time and time again is because the American people, you, me, the average voter, we're starting to see something happen from a political perspective. When I talk to my neighbors and I ask them just what are the things that are most important to them, almost every single time in their top 3, the Make America Healthy Again movement is one of them, is in their top 3. Just nearly every single one of my neighbors that I ask about this, it's across the board. People are starting to realize that the seed oils that they put in our food, the corn syrup that they put in our drinks, the amount of microplastics that are now in our system, no bueno. It's not good. And so there's a legitimate movement, the Make America Healthy Again movement, to start regulating, start changing the way we do the Department of Health and Human Services, to start even changing the way we approach our medical issues. And if you look above me right here, I have 3 Coke cans. Not only am I a huge Atlanta Braves fan, but I'm a Georgia boy, so naturally we're proud of Coca-Cola. But there's an ugly truth about Coca-Cola, and that is they use corn syrup. And switching over to that has been kind of a disaster for human health. Okay? Pepsi does it, Coca-Cola does it, Dr. Pepper does it. I'm sorry, that's just the reality. That's why I'm starting to switch over to more cane sugar products. That's why I'm starting to switch over to having less soda in my diet. I've got a nice little dad bod here that I got to take care of, but the corn syrup stuff, when you taste what we call Mexican Coke, you know there's a difference. And so there's a whole bunch of alternatives that are quite honestly better, and now other products are hitting the shelves. Again, this is why capitalism is so great, and this is one of the good parts of that post-World War II production boom. We have this technology, we have the abilities, we can switch over. What we can't do, however, because of the way we've decided to structure our lives, is have our food grown in our own backyards. We really can't do that anymore. So we have to trust the farming system. We have to trust these giant corporations, and you won't ever see them. You won't understand where they come from. That's how weird the farming and agricultural businesses have gotten here in the United States. There's a reason that the Make America Healthy Again movement is going on, and this is why I just wail on Kaitlan Collins as much as I possibly can. It's not just because she comes from a whole bunch of conservative circles back in D.C. and has gone to the dark side. No. She's not asking real questions. This isn't real journalism. Real journalism is what RFK Jr. is trying to do. I actually had the pleasure of seeing him at Transylvania College when I was up in Kentucky. And he was speaking about environmental issues, and he was getting off in the weeds. But something interesting struck me about that speech. He was earnest. He was trying to tell us what was actually happening. And he's doing it again right here in this scenario. And the shoe's on the other foot now. The real journalists are people like RFK Jr. who are trying to sound the alarm and make America healthy again. Meanwhile, Kaitlan Collins is just asking these boilerplate questions and doesn't really care about digging in and letting the man speak. She's trying to catch him between a rock and a hard place. Journalists need a wake-up call, and RFK Jr. is a better journalist than Kaitlan Collins can ever hope to be. Folks, my name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed that segment here on PolitiBrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. Until then, y'all have a good one.